Daniel, there isn't any biological test that will allow you to say, oh, this is schizophrenia, this is cannabis-induced psychosis. The way you pick it up is with the clinical history. And so generally with a schizophrenia that happens, that's not triggered by drugs, you have a long onset. And so typically these are young men who are in their late teens to early 20s, and gradually over a period of a couple of years, they start to cognitively decline. And so they start to struggle in school, they become more delinquent, they become socially withdrawn, and eventually psychosis appears. Schizophrenia usually continues with a downward, it usually keeps on going down. You reach a level of disability and psychosis, and then it stays persistent. So that is your classic schizophrenia pattern. With a drug-induced psychosis or a cannabis-induced psychosis, typically what you see are completely normal people who start to use cannabis, and then quickly, within the space of like a couple of days, a week, they enter a psychotic state, and then it maintains. The other thing that's really interesting about a cannabis-induced psychosis is that the way after you have a brain injury, the brain kind of goes in and out of disability. And so with these folks with these drug-induced psychoses, they can actually seem normal for months at a time. It's like they come out of it and they look fine again, and then they dip back into it as their brain's healing. Eventually, over time, the longer they stay sober, over a year or two, you actually see those windows of clarity where they're not having symptoms increase. And so really the way you distinguish the two of them is by a clinical history.
In other words, like my assumption is that someone who's diagnosed as schizophrenic, 18 years old, it's going to be hard for them to ever recover from that for the rest of their life. You're saying here, you're seeing people in their 40s, much older, that were perfectly healthy and then suddenly turn at ages that are not typical for schizophrenia to set in, and then it will ebb and flow commensurate with their recreational use of this stuff.
Yes, yeah, it can. And sometimes you get people and they've had a psychotic episode, and then maybe they use some concentrates, and then it causes like another psychotic episode, and it's almost like a step up in severity. It's like each time they use it and damage their brain, it gets worse. The other thing that I want to mention, though, which is really important to get across, is that younger individuals are uniquely at risk of this.